Hey guys, how's it going? Today's video is going to be the mid-year book Freakout tag. I decided this is the perfect time because last year I procrastinated and I filmed this sometime in August, I think. But now I'm actually on track with things. As always, I'm going to have all the questions down below, but every time I was trying to look for the original video, it kept leading me to a privated video. But the original is credited to Chami and Ellie. So if I can find them, I will link them down below, but if not, all the questions are going to be there if you want to do this tag. Question number 1, the best book you read so far in 2020. I was worried that this was going to be really hard because that's a really big question to start off on, but I was looking through my stats and I only have one 10 out of 10 read so far this year. I have a couple like 9.5s, but only one 10 out of 10. So I'm going with Still Alice by Lisa Genova. This book, oh boy, this book was perfect. Like, it really deserves the 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I bawled so much. I was so emotionally connected to every single character. The writing was really great, and even though I'd already seen the movie before I read the book, so I already knew what was happening and knew a lot of the big plot points, it didn't change my enjoyment at all. I still absolutely loved it. If you haven't heard about this, it is about a woman who is a Harvard professor and her husband is also like a really high up scientist, and basically her whole life revolves around her intelligence, how smart she is, and then she gets early onset Alzheimer's and it progresses fairly quickly, and it's basically her struggle with realizing what's going on and knowing there's nothing she can do to stop it, and also her family's reaction to it. And it's just, hi comment, so emotional, so well-rounded. This is definitely my favorite book I read so far this year. Question number 2 is the best sequel you read so far this year. Was The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. Holy cow, this is the last book in the Chronicles of Narnia series, and like I said, I expected to like this. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I felt so many emotions. I was so happy, I was so sad, I laughed, I cried. Like, it was so good. It took a direction I didn't expect it to, but I'm really happy that it went there, and I just loved it so much. This is my favorite type of ending, so I was just very happy, and yeah, definitely my favorite sequel I read so far. I was so impressed with it. Question number 3, a new release that you haven't read yet but you want to. For this one, I'm going to go with One Final Vinyl, which is the newest book from my dear friend Savy. I think it's supposed to come in this week. I haven't received it yet, but I'm so excited for when I do because I can't wait to read it. I'm going to leave Savy's channel linked down below, but this book is about a girl who is graduating, and she essentially has a really shitty graduation party, and then this 90-year-old woman with Alzheimer's shows up, and the girl tries to bring her home, and it's like a road trip, and it's a weird friendship, and they're bonding over music, and it just sounds so freaking cool, and I cannot wait to read it. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. For that one, I'm going to go with the third book in the Poppy War series. If you don't know, I read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang earlier this year, absolutely loved it, and then I ordered the sequel, and after like 6 weeks, I emailed them back asking, if they had an update on the shipping, and they're like, oh no, that was supposed to arrive like 3 weeks ago. Sorry, it's lost in the mail. And I got a refund and everything. But then I had to rebuy it, and now I have to wait for that copy to come up. But once that arrives, I'm excited to read it. I haven't even looked into the synopsis for this book because, like I said, I haven't read the sequel yet, and spoilers. But The Poppy War, the first one, is about a girl who is a war orphan, and she studies for this really prestigious test that is like for the elite of the elite to go to this elite military training school, and she ends up surprising everybody and getting in because she just wants to escape her circumstances. And now she's in this school, and there's a war, and there's so much graphic everything, like so many trigger warnings. I'm probably going to pre-order the third book. I can't imagine not wanting to after reading the second one, so I want to say that one, but I haven't read the second one, but probably the third one. Question number 5 is biggest disappointment. For this one, sorry, but I am going with Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you don't know, this is the story of the fictional band Daisy Jones and the Six, who were super popular, and at the height of their fame, the band broke up, and this is basically the story of why. It's also told in interview format, which is interesting. It kind of got in the way of me connecting with the characters personally, but it was still an interesting choice, and a lot of other people liked that. I couldn't care less about this book. I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't care about the story. It wasn't the lowest rated book I read this year by any means. Like, I gave it like a 6.5 out of 10. I just didn't care about the vast majority of the characters. I couldn't care less why they broke up. Like, some parts of the story were kind of interesting, but overall, I just didn't give a damn. So because it had been so hyped, my expectations were really high. So even though it wasn't my lowest rated book, it was definitely the most disappointing because I was expecting this and I got like this. But that does lead me into question number 6, which is biggest surprise. And for that one, I'm going with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I adored this book. Evelyn Hugo is amazing and badass and a queen in every sense of the word. If you don't know, this is the story of Evelyn Hugo, who is supposed to be a Hollywood star who had 7 husbands and was really reclusive, and now in her older age she is giving this interview and going through her life. I really didn't expect to love it as much as I did, which is why it's a surprise, because I knew like so many people were saying how good it was, so many people were gushing about it, but it just didn't sound super intriguing to me. It sounds very romance heavy, which it is, but it's also very Evelyn Hugo heavy. So I think that that's why it was the biggest surprise, because I was expecting it to be like here, and it was like here. Question number 7 is favorite new author, and this can either be a debut author or just an author that's new to you. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for this one. I went through every book that I read this year, and out of all the books that I really liked, it's either the only book that I've read from that author, so I can't say that they're my favorite author because I have only liked one book from them, or it's an author that I've read before. I haven't had any authors yet this year that were new to me that I read more than one of their book and liked both of them. There are a couple books on my list from authors that I've read for the first time this year that I just haven't gotten to yet, so maybe I'll prioritize those, but as of right now, I actually don't have an answer, which is kind of sad. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush, and I'm going to combine that with question number 9, which is favorite new character, because it's the same answer for the same reasons. But I'm going with Harper from A Curse so Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I love Harper. I want to say quickly, the reason why Evelyn Hugo isn't my favorite like fictional crush is because Evelyn Hugo isn't a crush. Like, she's on a completely different level. But Harper, I love Harper so much. So if you haven't read this book yet, it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and our main character is a girl from our world who gets transported into the fantasy world. She also has cerebral palsy, which is a really cool rep that I haven't seen before, and I just love her so much. First of all, she's smart. Like, when she gets taken, the very first thing she does is take out her cell phone to try to call 911. Like, nobody ever thinks of that in books. Like, she's so smart, and not like in a book smart or like a convenient to the plot smart, like in a what a real person who reads knows what they should do would do. You know what I mean? I hope so. That sentence was a mess. She's also really kind and loving and generous and all of those good things, but she's also sarcastic and badass and violent, and she's the total package. She really is. I actually buddy read this with my good friend Audrey. I'm going to link her channel down below as well. She got this book for me as a gift, and it was such a wonderful surprise, and then we read it together, and I loved it so much, and I think all of the characters. I loved the villain, Lilith. If she was in more scenes and had a little bit more to her, she might be higher up on the list, but I loved everybody. I loved Gray. I loved how, like, distant and loyal he was. I always liked those characters. I loved Ren and how just bewildered and angry he got so often. Like, I keep gushing about this book, but Harper is my newest crush and my newest favorite fictional character. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. For this one, how could I not go with Still Alice by Lisa Genova? Not only was this my favorite book that I read this year, I bawled like a baby. Like, check out my reading vlog. I just cry so much, and like, not just like silent tears, but like very like sobbing tears. This book just broke my heart and tore out my soul and everything. So yeah, this made me cry. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy. See, with this one I tried to think of a different book because I didn't want to reuse books, but this book is really the honest answer. So again, A Curse so Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. Not only because the whole experience around this book was great, because, you know, receiving it as a gift and then that surprise and then reading it with a friend and all of that, but also, like, look at these tabs. So all of the pink tabs are times when I actually laughed out loud, and I don't laugh out loud often when I read. And like, to be fair, not everyone was like a, you know, knee slapping laugh. Like, some of them were just like audible chuckles, but still, like, that's not something that happens often to me. And all of the green were things that I like really liked. Like, I liked so many things in this book, but those were the things that like I really liked. So this whole book reading it and the story and the characters, like everything just made me so happy. So yeah, there's no better answer than this one. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book you bought this year. For this one, I'm kind of cheating because technically I bought the book last year, but I read it at the starting of this year, so I'm going to count it anyways. But that is Fairy Tale by Rebeccah Rodriguez. Look at this cover. This is friggin' gorgeous. Like, just everything about this I love so much. Like, that font and the color and the whooshies and like, it's so beautiful. And also this cover very accurately matches the book. Like, it's, I don't know, I can't describe it, but this is just the perfect cover for this book. If you don't know, Rebeccah Rodriguez is another author tuber. I'm going to have her channel linked down below as well. This is also a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and this one has a male-male romance. And just so many things about it were so magical. And again, I loved the characters. I loved Killian, but I also hated him, like in a good way. Like, some of the decisions he made, because he's just so clueless about some things, were frustrating in a way that made him really endearing, if that makes sense. And I loved his love interest, and I loved a couple of the twists and turns that I didn't see coming, and the writing was just so beautiful and magical, and the whole world just had this really strong magical vibe to it that I just really, really loved. But to answer the question, how could this not be the most beautiful book? And finally, question number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I'm going to go with kind of a more general answer here, but I want to finish off some series that I've started. So I have a lot of books that I've read the first one, and either I didn't own the next ones or I just haven't gotten to them yet. I just want to be able to finish more series, I think. I think that's one of my goals for the second half of the year. So that's not a specific book, just whatever books I happen to have that are the second in a series or sequels in a series, those. And that was the last question. So again, all of the questions are going to be down below if you guys want to do this tag. If you do, comment to let me know, because I always love watching this tag and just seeing everybody else's answers, because it's just so much fun. If you guys enjoyed this video, please click the like button to let me know, and subscribe to stay up to date with the rest of my videos and see how the rest of my year goes. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, usually reading or writing related. So I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, have a great day. Bye!